The RedMagic 8S Pro just launched in the global markets, and while it may be very similar to the RedMagic 8 Pro, which released earlier on this year, this new iteration benefits from some welcomed changes, making the best gaming phone of the year even better. The design has been slightly refined, but the most notable changes happen inside this beast, that being an overclocked version of the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chipset, an upgraded cooling system, an enhanced headphone jack, and a new software experience. And just like the 8 Pro before it, we get treated to a hardshell case in the box, as well as a 6-amp charging cable and a 65-watt charging brick. This is TechNick, and this is my full review of the most powerful phone on the planet, the RedMagic 8S Pro. The device should be similarly priced to its predecessor, but since it literally just got announced in the global markets, I have not yet been given the global price list, so be sure to check the comment section as I'll list the prices there. The RedMagic 8S Pro has identical design elements when compared to its predecessor, but it's now been more refined and looks absolutely stunning. The game space switch is still red and still placed in the same spot, the power button and volume rockers are in the same places too, as are the touch triggers, which still look and feel the same and still boast the same 520Hz touch sampling rate and 7.4 millisecond response time. The intake and exhaust air vents also have the same location, as does the 20,000 revolutions per minute high-speed turbofan, but this time all color variants, even the solid color variants, have an RGB LED fan, which was previously limited to only the transparent versions. And you can always disable the fan's lights if you would like. There are also RGB light strips on the back of all color versions, and while the light strips look identical to before, the branding and wording is now slightly different. Speaking of colors, there is still a transparent version in the lineup, known as Aurora, which is only available with 16 gigs of RAM and 512 gigs of storage. The solid silver color version, known as Platinum, also comes in the same configuration, while the color which I have, known as Midnight, only comes with 12 gigs of RAM and 256 gigs of storage. This is also a solid color, just like Platinum, and all three versions come with a newly implemented design technique known as 3D nano etching, which results in a star ring texture effect when shifting around the device under light, which is something the previous RedMagic 8 Pro didn't have. What is unchanged, however, are the back cameras. They are in the exact same place and look exactly the same as before. They are the same sensors too, that being a 50 megapixel Samsung ISOCELL GN5 main camera sensor, accompanied by the same 8 megapixel ultra-wide and 2 megapixel macro camera. If you would like to see some photo and video samples, be sure to check out my RedMagic 8 Pro video review out after this, since it packs in the exact same camera system, and trust me, this thing is a very capable camera smartphone. The squared off side frames are still made from aviation grade aluminum, and the device itself is still 9.47 millimeters thick and 228 grams in weight. The back is still made from glass and synthetic metal, while the display is still protected by Gorilla Glass 5. The display is the same breathtaking all-screen experience we saw in the RedMagic 8 Pro, and that's thanks to the same second generation under-display selfie camera technology, which has a small display area that covers the same 16 megapixel selfie camera sensor. Again, be sure to check out my RedMagic 8 Pro video if you would like to see some photo and video samples. The screen covering the selfie camera matches the same 400 pixels per inch, which the entire display pushes out due to it having a full HD resolution. The screen itself is the same, very squared off, flat 6.8 inch AMOLED panel, which is extremely immersive thanks to no visible cutouts and very tiny bezels. And just like I said in my review of the RedMagic 8 Pro before it, this is the best looking display I have ever laid my eyes on. It has a 10-bit color depth, which is capable of displaying 100% of the DCI-P3 color space, packs in DC dimming, and supports HDR10 and Widevine L1 content. It's also one of the few phones that offers a 90Hz refresh rate option in addition to the standard 60 and 120Hz options. And while it's silky smooth when set to 120Hz, there's again no LTPO tech here, so it sticks to a fixed 120 FPS unless you set the refresh rate to auto. The good news is that it still has up to 960Hz touch sampling rates, which is not something you usually see even in a flagship device. And just like its predecessor, it too can reach a max screen brightness of 1300 nits. As mentioned at the start, the RedMagic 8S Pro also benefits from a new software experience, that being RedMagic OS 8 skinned over Android 13. It's largely similar to OS 6, which we saw within the RedMagic 8 Pro, so it's still very fluid, packed to the brim with interactive widgets, and packs in all the Google goodies you would expect, such as Google Discover, Google Assistant, and of course the Google Play Store. And just as I mentioned in my RedMagic 8 Pro review, the 8S Pro has the most stock-like Android gaming phone experience out there, but this time takes things even further by trimming down bloatware and is now even easier to use. It's now easier to move around in the app drawer, the notification shade now has a more modern appeal, icons and categories within settings has been improved, along with the overall layout of settings. Not to mention personalized settings now has more customization options. We'll get to gaming software in a minute, but everything about RedMagic's new OS is better in almost every way. I just really hope it makes its way to earlier models of the RedMagic 8 series. And to keep you gaming all day is the same massive 6000 mAh battery we saw in the RedMagic 8 Pro, which is split into two 3000 mAh cells. The crazy thing is that this massive battery can be filled up in less than 40 minutes thanks to its 65 watt wide charging capability, which is more than impressive but is once again unchanged from its predecessor. And just like its older brother, it too lacks wireless charging, but that's most likely due to its massive vapor chamber cooling system. That being the new ICE 12 cooling system, which now has 11 heat dissipation layers as opposed to ICE 11, which had 10 layers. That extra layer is due to it having a double layer vapor chamber cooling plate to keep things even cooler when playing games or even charging your device up. Not to mention they are now using a new 5 watt ultra-conducting cooling gel. The cooling system has of course been upgraded to accompany the overclocked Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chipset within this beast of a phone, which now has a max main core clock speed of 3.36 GHz as opposed to the 3.19 GHz standard, while the Adreno 740 integrated GPU's running speed has also increased from 680 MHz to 719 MHz. The RedMagic 8S Pro also packs in a dedicated gaming chip known as Red Core 2, which processes audio, haptics, and RGB lighting so that the Qualcomm chipset can focus on raw performance, which is a big reason why the RedMagic 8S Pro manages to achieve the highest benchmark scores I have ever come across. The global version also has up to 16 gigs of LPDDR5X RAM with an option for extended RAM, as well as up to 512 gigs of UFS 4.0 storage. Now this is of course a gaming phone through and through, so let's kick things off with everything that you can do within RedMagic's unique game space software. To leave the world behind and immerse yourself with the gaming universe, the RedMagic 8S Pro houses a simple game space switch on the right of the device, and once you flick the switch, your everyday device becomes a handheld console. Other than playing around with Mora, RedMagic's unique mascot, you can customize your game space home with different wallpapers, customize the game space center, browse through game screen recordings and screenshots, and access the Energy Cube, which allows you to adjust game-specific settings such as touch sampling rate, performance modes, customize GPU settings, change filters, adjust the turbofan, and even change screen recording settings. Once you're all set up and ready to go, you can launch your favorite games directly from the GameSpace interface, and once in, there are even more things to customize and enable through the GameSpace overlay. You can change the refresh rate on the fly, enable an information panel to see real-time FPS readings, there's an auto screen record option to save those magic moments, you can take screenshots and pin them to the screen, take notes and also pin them to the screen, enable Diablo mode to even further the performance of your device, use charge bypass to use charger power instead of the actual battery, adjust sound equalizer settings, remap keys on the screen and tap in different areas to activate certain buttons, enable macro mode where you can save a combo of buttons pressed in sequence and then tap one button to automatically trigger everything in a loop, and of course we can also customize those touch triggers which has loads of different options to suit your preference. I like to keep things simple, so I'll be setting the triggers to offer just a single tap, much like a controller experience. They feel very responsive and work extremely well. Now, playing games on this phone is of course a pleasure to do, but if you would like to have a true console experience, there are multiple options, such as being able to connect your device to your PlayStation or Xbox, project your phone screen wirelessly to a PC, or even connect your RedMagic 8S Pro directly to an external monitor using the USB port, which doubles up as a display port and can output up to 120 Hz. This is most probably my favorite thing about this device, as you can access a gaming hub, go into your favorite games, and even connect a controller, which allows you to get that true console gaming experience. But RedMagic takes things even further by allowing you to play 2 games at once. One on your external monitor and one on your phone's display. Do yourself a favor and take a second to let that sink in. You can of course also screen mirror the game you're currently playing on your phone screen, and you can use it for regular use as well while hooked up to your external monitor or TV. I'm sure you can already tell, this is a lot more than just a gaming phone. It's essentially a portable gaming console, which you can use as a phone. But this thing is an extreme powerhouse, so now it's time to test out its actual performance while playing games on the device itself. Now, since this is just an overclocked chipset of the same CPU we saw in the RedMagic 8 Pro, you won't really notice a huge performance increase while playing your favorite titles. Take Genshin Impact for example. It's an extremely demanding game when playing on maxed out settings, and since the game is capped at 60 FPS, we can't actually push out more frames, so just like its predecessor, the RedMagic 8S Pro also manages to get a rock solid 60 FPS all of the time. The same can be said with Call of Duty Mobile. When set to Ultra FPS mode, the game is limited to 90 FPS, and due to this cap, we can't go any higher than this. So again, just like its predecessor, the RedMagic 8S Pro achieves a stable 90 FPS regardless of how long you play for. But there are some games out there, such as Real Racing 3, which can actually be played at maxed out FPS. And since the RedMagic 8S Pro has a 120 Hz refresh rate, we were able to average 120 FPS while playing. Needless to say, this was also the case with the RedMagic 8 Pro. The RedMagic 8S Pro also sticks to the same formula as its predecessor in terms of other hardware specs, such as Bluetooth 5.3, NFC, dual SIM 5G, and Wi-Fi 7. It too makes use of the same USB 3.1 Type-C port, which as you saw earlier doubles up as a display port, a double X-axis linear motor system for incredibly good haptic feedback, a 3.5mm headphone jack which has actually now been further enhanced, as well as a very powerful dual stereo speaker system which has been crafted by DTS:X Ultra, so let's go ahead and give them a listen. There are so many really good flagship smartphones out there, but there are very few flagship smartphones that prioritize gaming. So when it comes to the RedMagic 8S Pro, it's hard not to see it as the best flagship gaming smartphone on the planet, and that's not just because of its out of this world performance and gaming experience, but also because of its subtle yet stunning design, massive battery, stock-like software experience, and most importantly, its breathtaking, uninterrupted all-screen display. There's nothing quite like it. That said, it's really hard to recommend the RedMagic 8S Pro as an upgrade for those of you who already own a RedMagic 8 Pro, due to this being a very iterative upgrade in terms of an overclocked CPU, an upgraded cooling system and headphone jack, and a slight design change. However, if you currently own a RedMagic 7 series device or any generation before that, then this is a no-brainer. And if you're in the market for your very first gaming smartphone, then let me tell you, it doesn't really get much better than this. Let me know your thoughts of the most powerful smartphone on the planet in the comment section down below. This is TechNick, and I'll catch you in the next one.